Welcome to the Mystic and the Skeptic. In today's episode, we'll be discussing the latest controversy with Joe Rogan in relation to his what some people call misinformation in relation to COVID vaccine. I know 2 weeks ago we did a show about him supporting Alex Jones' claims on an interview he did with Tim Dillon, a comedian. But we now are going to be talking about the storm that has come because of his interview with different people in relation to vaccine. According to Jimmy Dore, who I listened to, another comedian, he's being persecuted as someone who's been trying to speak truth or at least try to challenge assumptions. The latest controversy has to do with an interview he had with the guy who invented the mRNA vaccine. His name is Dr. Robert Malone. Malone is the inventor of the 9 original mRNA vaccine patents, which were originally filed in 1989, including both the idea mRNA vaccines and the original proof of principle experiments in RNA transfection. Mr. Malone has close to 100 peer-reviewed publications which have been cited over 12,000 times. Since January 2020, Dr. Malone has been leading a large team focused on clinical research, design, drug development, computer modeling, and mechanisms of action of repurposed drugs for the treatment of COVID-19. Dr. Malone is the medical director of the Unity Project, a group of 300 organizations across the U.S. standing against mandated COVID vaccines for children. He's also the president of the Global COVID Summit, organization over 16,000 doctors and scientists committed to speaking truth to power about COVID pandemic research and treatment. He was interviewed by Jimmy Dore, and in that interview, he mentioned having a lot of problems with the head of the CDC, having a lot of problems with the way that children are being vaccinated. They were saying that there's a lot of manipulation happening right now because of the pandemic, and he's against mandates and things like that. But what has been happening that I would like to bring up is that different musicians have been requesting that Spotify, the host of the Joe Rogan show, remove their music from their lineup. So the list of artists so far: Neil Young, Joni Mitchell, Brene Brown, who's a researcher, social worker, India Arie, David Crosby, Stephen Stills, and Graham Nash. Roseanne Barr wanted to remove her podcast. According to singer India Arie, she's leaving Spotify because of language around race. She wrote in her Instagram. Comments follow a controversial interview that Rogan 54 had last month with Jordan Peterson, conservative YouTube personality. In that talk, Rogan said it's very strange they can call themselves black unless they're from the darkest place of Africa. Wendy Zuckerman and Blythe Terrell, the creator of Science Versus, award-winning podcast that streams to Spotify, also announced on Twitter they will focus on fact-checking Rogan, sources of misinformation on the platform, and post-production of their content. Lofgren, Bruce Springsteen's guitarist from the E Street Band, said the following: "We encourage all musicians, artists, and music lovers everywhere to stand with us all and cut ties with Spotify." On his website, he said, "Pick up your sword and start swinging. Neil always has. Stand with him. Us, Joni Mitchell, and others is a powerful action you can all take now to honor true humanity and the heroes risking their lives every day to save us." According to Brene Brown, "I will not be releasing any podcasts until further notice." She called on Spotify to have a transparent misinformation policy available to the public that balances addressing the complex misinformation issues we face today while respecting free speech. And that's from an article in Time magazine. So I decided to write my own letter. I wrote this to my streaming platform. It's an open letter to Spotify. Planning to contact Spotify to remove my radio show, which is on your platform Buzzsprout and in turn carried by them. You can say that I'm overreacting, but Roseanne Barr's career was destroyed by a comment she made that was similar to one of Joe Rogan's in relation to a certain group of people being compared to the movie The Planet of the Apes. I don't believe that Joe Rogan should get a free pass on this one. Also, as someone fighting against anti-Semitism, his content praised an invitation of Alex Jones to be a guest who supports the Rothschild conspiracy, and his irresponsible discussion of COVID-19 precautions make him a persona non grata in my book. Rogan, lame apologies and ridiculous exemptions claiming to be a comedian entertainer gives him the right to speak ill of other people is being justified by executives of Spotify, which is unacceptable. So, according to my letter, him being ridiculous is the problem. Though Rogan has said he expresses his deepest apologies, it is shameful that he has used the N-word from a compilation they showed. He claims that this was taken out of context. According to an article in The Sun, connected use of racial slurs, Rogan also came under fire for racist language while referring to a black neighborhood. As part of the video footage showing Rogan's use of racist language, he's shown talking about going to see the film Planet of the Apes in Philadelphia with two friends. As he recounts the story, he says the cab driver dropped them off in a black neighborhood, and Rogan can be heard saying, "We got out and it was like we were in Africa, like we were in Planet of the Apes." In the wake of the backlash, Rogan apologized and said he had deleted the podcast episode, saying it was an idiotic thing to say. He defended himself by claiming he wasn't trying to be racist, just entertaining. The appearance of conspiracy theorist Alex Jones sparked backlash from Spotify's own staff when he appeared on Rogan's show in October 2020. In the course of a 3-hour podcast, Jones discussed a range of topics, including how effective mask wearing was against COVID and the risk of vaccines making people sick. Campaigners and some of Spotify's own staff expressed concerns about the appearance of Jones on the show. Quote, "They are essentially profiting from the platforming of and giving exposure to the most outrageous and fringe views and the desperate search for ad dollars and subscription revenues," said Imran Ahmed, chief executive of the Center of Countering Digital Hate. "There is a phenomenally cynical moral decision to take." According to Bloomberg reports, Spotify staff had also taken an internal channel on Slack to discuss the episode, sharing their internal forms of reporting content and escalating complaints. Responding to the controversy in an Instagram post, Rogan wrote, quote, "I knew people were going to criticize the content of the podcast without even listening, and I was right." He claimed he fact-checked every single crazy thing he said, and that all of them were verified. Bill Gates is a eugenicist trying to wipe out minorities. The government is controlling the weather. Hillary Clinton is running a child sex ring out of a D.C. area pizza restaurant. The government is complicit in countless terrorist and lone gunman attacks. Millions of undocumented immigrants illegally voted in the election. Former Fox News host Glenn Beck is a CIA operative. According to a Vox article called "Trump Booster Alex Jones, I am not anti-Semitic, but Jews run an evil conspiracy," radio host Alex Jones is a big Trump fan, and Trump, for his part, has returned the favor. In December, he went on Jones' show telling the host, "Your reputation is amazing," and promising him that I will not let you down. Given that Jones is one of America's foremost conspiracy theorists, who has been accused of sowing racial and anti-Semitic fears before, that was almost certainly a mistake. Jones proved it on the latest edition of Alex Jones Show, aired on Tuesday. This is back in October 26, 2016, when he blamed American ills on the Jewish mafia. Quote, "They run Uber, they run the healthcare, they are going to scam you, they're going to hurt you," he said, according to Media Matters. Jones listed a series of prominent people with Jewish backgrounds he believed to be working with this mafia: Rahm Emanuel, Madeleine Albright, George Soros, and accused them of being part of a global corporate combine in allegiance with the Japanese communists and other evil factions. Quote, "I guess I better do some exposés on the Jewish mafia," end quote, Jones said. He described Emanuel as, quote, a guy foaming at the mouth with knives at cabinet meetings, basically threatening the president, totally crazed, who's got his fingers in everything, screwing us over, end quote. But Jones insisted, quote, I'm not against Jews, end quote, just the Jewish mafia, whatever that is. The thing is, the kind of behavior shouldn't surprise anyone. While anti-Semitism actually isn't that common on Jones' show, the kind of wingnut conspiracy theorizing that this segment represents very much is. Quote, Alex Jones is the primary producer of conspiracy theories in America today, end quote, says Mark Potok, a senior fellow at the Southern Poverty Law Center. Jones had repeatedly warned of FEMA plots to put Americans in concentration camps. He has labeled every major terrorist attack in the U.S., including 9/11, as false flags, secretly committed by the government as pretext to take away our civil liberties. He even, in one memorable segment, accused the government of putting chemicals on the water to turn frogs gay for some nefarious purpose. This is who Jones is, his entire thing, the whole reason for his popularity. The Trump campaign couldn't possibly have failed to understand this before Trump went on his show. Yet Trump appeared anyway, and Donald Trump Jr. has promoted Jones' work on Twitter at least twice. So as you guys see, I'm not trying to smear Rogan or trying to pick fights with one of America's #1 podcasters. What I'm trying to do is show how easy it is to exploit people and use them as bait to get listeners. If he's already a millionaire, why is Joe Rogan inviting Alex Jones? Either he agrees with him or he has some very serious problems with him being open to all these conspiracies. So Alex Jones is a provocateur and conspiracy prognosticator. For years has supported or spearheaded racist, anti-Semitic, seditious, religiously intolerant, and triumphalist claims which have no correlation with reality and or are based on little evidence or facts. He did not only get sued by the surviving parents of the Sandy Hook Elementary tragedy, but according to a Rolling Stone article, he has pushed hateful conspiracies such as government weather manipulation, sexual orientation and identity reassignment experiments to mass population, demonic overtake of government officials, 9/11 was an inside job, that Obama was not a U.S. citizen. There are two other important recent issues not often discussed: that Jones was a supporter of QAnon and the biggest proponent of the Stop the Steal conspiracy, which led to the January 6th attack on the Capitol building, an attempt to stop the certification of the peaceful transition of power after the 2020 election. There's a good documentary on PBS Frontline called United States of Conspiracy. I just think there has to be some accountability. People are saying that cancel culture and censorship are not allowed, but that's not what it is. What it is that people have to be able to respond to criticism when they're saying things that are horrendous. Someone put this really well on Facebook. Canceling a subscription because you oppose a company's policy is exactly how free enterprise is supposed to work. Companies are free to stay the course, make a better product. That is not censorship. Book banning is censorship. This is a quote from David Siegel, trial attorney, ABA, Edmund S. Muskie Pro Bono Service, who received the ABA's Edmund S. Muskie Pro Bono Service Award in 2007.